Hello, everyone. I can see my friends coming in. This is a nice sunny day here in Denver, Colorado. And you might be wondering, why the heck am I wearing a sweatshirt? But I'm inside of the Bridging the Gap conference and it's cold. So I got a hoodie so that way I could stay warm. And plus, I think it's such a cute souvenir. So it's super, super soft. But I'm glad that you're all here and joining and hopefully doing very well today. So, my partner in crime, Heather, is out with her horse today. So, she will not be joining us, but I'm going to really kind of recap what's happening here at the Bridging the Gap conference because of all of the conferences that I have been to this year, this one's definitely got a different tone to it. So I don't know, maybe over in chat if you want to share if you've been to one of the Bridging the Gap conferences. I think this is the third year. And Randy Crabtree is the really, I would say, the inspiration behind the conference. So a lot of the content theme is very much inspired by Randy, which is really fun because if you know Randy Crabtree, he is one of those that puts a lot of emotion into what he does. And so that's really the focus of this particular event. So I'm looking over in chat and I don't see that anybody has maybe been to a Bridging the Gap conference. So BTG is what they call it here. And I would say culture has really been the theme of on your wish list, Jennifer. You should definitely come because that as somebody who enjoys some of the how do we as humans run our firm and still maintain sanity, that's really the gist of a lot of the classes. And Rich, you're saying that you were here, so I'm going to read off because Rich, that this is kind of like the theme of what Randy does is he really talks more about the humanity of the profession. So I'm going to give you an idea of some of the classes because they've been very thought-provoking, but not in a technology and um, not in a way that I would say all of the conferences that I've been attending are doing. Um, so this morning, Randy Crabtree, he opened with his keynote, and I'll tell you about that here in a second. But the classroom name, so power of vulnerability, letting go to find what matters most. That's huge because I think that as entrepreneurs, so many of us are wearing a lot of hats. And so that class was really talking about like, what can you give up in order to be better at running the firm? Another one was safe to fail. So really building a culture of experimentation in your accounting practice. And Dark Horse, I don't know if any of you are familiar with that CPA firm, but they were the ones who were talking about how do you design a firm that allows you to lean into being experimental but not get off track and not meet client deliverables. So that was a really, really cool one. And I'll kind of share a little bit more what they were talking about. As they said, if the group gets bigger than what a couple pizzas can feed, then the group is too big. So you can't get anything done with too big of a group whenever you're talking about being experimental. But it's how do you create effective teams and then implement change. And then if we're talking about technology, what do you do if you're more efficient? For those people who are like, I like my daily grind, having a checklist actually makes me feel accomplished whenever I check off the checklist. But the conversation kind of moved to your checklist changes as you innovate. And so there's a lot of value in these conversations that are happening. And one of the other ones was breaking through. Oh my gosh, I loved this one. So, breaking through how to let go so you can be the CEO instead of the accountant. So, Andrea McDonald, I don't know, for those of you who go to any of the conferences, she's usually at the various different conferences, and she got up and spoke very authentically about what the last 18 months has looked like for her. And what she got up and shared was, it's not without messy, but she needed to move into this place of being able to take a vacation. A she was doing and running and managing and never was able to get a break. So she kind of peeled back, like, how did she start that adventure with? For her, it included making a social media post that said, here's what I'm good at. I'm looking for somebody to be able to help me with the rest of it. And so she literally went to social media in order to find a business partner. And they kind of shared back and forth what that has looked like. And one of the biggest challenges she was sharing was getting herself out of those client facing meetings and getting herself out of the go-to for as the point of contact for her clients. And so I'm sure those of you here know that many of us, whenever we started our businesses, cell phones was, something that we gave away those numbers in the beginning. And to get yourself out of that primary point of contact, to get yourself into a routine that you're saying, hey, use my client portal, don't text me directly. So Andrea was really giving some really nice behind the scenes. How has she gone from being a solopreneur to then having a small team and then getting a business partner, and now I think she said that they're a team of 8. So, that's a really reasonable, I think, stepping stone for many of us to have a firm that size. And I don't know how many of you have team members or have um, firms, but if you want to share the size of your firm over in chat. Oh, and Beth, I see that you wish that you were here too. I would say definitely come next year because it's a fun experience. And Randy's got definitely a very fun personality. But I told you I would share what happened this morning in Randy's session. So where he kicked off this morning was sharing his journey as to why company culture became a big part of what he's doing. And what he said was that it was very much a firm that he started and it was all on his shoulders. He wanted to be the one who was making the majority of the decisions. He did have a business partner, Andy, but Randy really wanted to be in that place of the one who was making a lot of the decisions about the team. And he found himself in a scenario where one morning he went to work, no warning signs at all, and he was trying to get into work and went completely nonverbal, was slurring his words, had some loss of sensation in the left side of his body. And so he had a stroke, and he was able to recognize what had happened. And he just happened to have a family member who was right there. And so they were able to take him to the hospital immediately. And he was released that day. So the hospital said, yes, in fact, he had had a stroke, but there was not any residual effects. So they were like, go ahead and go home. And he left there, and he said that that was on a Thursday, and then on Friday um, he went into uh, the office. He coached basketball. Monday morning, he was back at work, and he said by that Monday afternoon, he was back into a similar situation where he was slurring his words again, and he couldn't remember what was happening, where he was, what he was doing, and so had a second stroke. And he was, for those of you who have heard Randy speak, he gets emotional. So a bit like Sometimes we've seen Joe Woodard get a little bit emotional. So very raw, feelings. I think that it's been, I can't remember, I think it's 2017 since this happened. And so he shared just how much of an impact that had made. And he realized that having a second stroke within a time span of less than a week, that he needed to do something different inside of his firm, inside of his family. And so the business needed to change, and how he was operating it needed to change. So that's really what inspired a lot of this particular conference, is how do we as individuals survive having an accounting and bookkeeping firm? How do we survive being entrepreneurs? So it's not always about making money. Of course, that's a big driver as to why we go into business, and we have these ideas of how we're going to get there. But the actuality of it can truly be detrimental to your health and to your family, and mentally. So he talked about that after that stroke, that he actually suffered from depression, and he said he had a hard time identifying what it was. He didn't want to call it depression, but now on the other side of it, he said that that's exactly what it was, is he didn't know how to change. He didn't know how to do things different. He didn't know how to let go of control and trust the team to be able to move into those places that he needed to allow them in order to take care of himself. And so he made some changes in his firm, and he kind of went through like, what did that look like? But overall, I would say that the feel of this conference is, if you need to take a mental break, they've got, I call it the playroom, but I don't know if they call it the mindful room. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but they have a room where you can go and you can color on coasters. You can, I think that they were making bird houses at one point. There's they were doing a little bit of planting. So they have some like places for you to go, and just, if you need to digest what's been shared, or just all of the different messaging, you have a chance to get away. So I definitely think so many of us need that. All right, I'm going to come over here and read some of these comments, because I was asking about firm size a minute ago because of Andrea's class, where she was talking about, getting into that place where she wasn't the one who was doing it all. So Beth, team of 7, Cynthia, team of 10. Chet, you've got 2 part-time bookkeepers, and you'd like to grow to a team of 20. I'll just kind of stop there. Jean, you're talking about you've got 19, including you. And I would go ahead and say to those of you who answered, and even those who didn't, when's the last time you took a vacation? So let me see, I've got some more things. Virtual assistant that helps you. Beth, that is really nice. I would say for those of you who, are not really sure where to begin, I would say a virtual assistant would be a phenomenal place, because they can help you with the email, they can help you with sorting. So even if you don't have somebody who's helping you with processing the work, being able to process the communication is a big burden. And so having somebody to help you with that lift makes a significant difference. I know my inbox used to look like client communication all day long, and now I hardly ever get client communication. I think that every once in a while I'll get pulled into a conversation, because just to make sure that I'm aware. But otherwise, everything I track is inside of the workflow tool, and team members are able to go and manage it. So Chet, took a 1-week vacation with my family the first week of June. Only worked about 4 hours that week. That was one of the things that, good for you, by the way. Good for you. So I'm glad that you took that vacation and you got away, and had very limited time with your computer. One of the things that Andrea was saying is that she went on her first vacation that she had taken in, I think, 20 years. And so for her, that was like a huge celebration. And it was a testament to, she'd been, in this journey of getting a partner and trying to balance things and setting up a company structure. That I'll share what she did with her company structure because I thought it was kind of unique too. Um, but she was able to, she took her laptop because she said that the idea of not having her laptop with her on vacation one made her want to like have stomach indigestion, and she was just like, no, it's just easier for me to have it. But she logged in and she did 30 minutes worth of work, and a team member saw her online and said, get out of here. So they wanted her to leave. Rich, so when you do finally take a vacation, it takes me a day or two to unwind. Then I couldn't care less about the office. I think that that one is something that many of us can relate to. So whenever it comes to, um, I would say the weekend, how many of you spend time thinking about work during the weekend, and it makes you like it's difficult to be present with your family during the weekend? I know I'm raising my hand right now, um, because that was something that was very real for myself, and I needed to step back because my kids were missing out on having all of me because I was splitting my weekend with what should be my kid time with finally getting a break and taking a bit of um, a mental sabbatical from work. So I have, what I started with is Fridays became, about 5 years ago, Fridays became a day where I was just focused on working on the business, not in the business. And then it kind of graduated to, I do very limited, if anything, on Friday in the office because it gives me a chance to really think about how am I going to process everything that's happened, and then I can be available for my family. And my kids aren't so young anymore, so it's not so much of a big deal. But I think that what you're saying, that Rich, that it takes you a long time, a couple of days to unwind, is a signal that we carry a lot of what we do work wise home. So, most of us are in virtual offices. I would assume probably more than 50% who's here right now are home offices. And so we never really leave our work office. So sometimes that can be difficult too. I have an upstairs office and I have to step away and go into the rest of my house. And I don't want to go up into my home office that's upstairs until it's the next time to go back to work. But I hadn't always had that. And there was a long time that my office was in my living room. And so I had kind of set up some virtual space for myself. But I didn't get a good break away. And it was nice because I had little kids and I could see what they were doing. But I like having a door that I can close to at least be able to say I'm away from work. I'm going to come over here and read some of more of these. So Stacy, my almost grown kids, congratulations. Um, about the lack of so yeah, so complain about the lack of boundaries in the evening and the weekends. I get it. Like I know that for me, I want to be present for what's happening. I've got a personal situation that's happening today. One of my kids has got something happening with one of their really close peers and significant other. And so I'm mom right now too. So I'm here at this conference, I'm here with all of you, but my heart is also tethered to, just in case that child needs anything from me, I want to be able to step into that role and be able to be there for them. And that's hard whenever you don't get a chance to take a mental break, and if you don't have any type of um, team member or partner or even colleague that you can call in to say, can you fill in for me? So those of you who are here, I'm like, I almost wonder if you don't have that, if you're a solopreneur and you're doing everything for yourself, I almost wonder if it would be beneficial for us to say to each other, do we want to be able to help each other whenever, if we need to leave, somebody to be able to say, do you have somebody to call on if you need to to be gone for a day? Is there somebody that you can pass that to, or does everything just shut down? I kind of look over here in the chat and to look at some of these other things that are happening too. That, um, the coolest thing about that week is I was off, and your senior bookkeeper was able to handed off a large volume of clients to a junior bookkeeper without any input from you. So that's a huge win. So I would say, Chet, in your situation, it sounds like you had your senior bookkeeper who was taking over a lot of the things that you would probably normally be doing, and then they were able to pass some of the things that they would normally be doing on to the next person. And so, I mean, that's delegation right there. So, anytime that you're hiring, that's kind of the way the sequence works, is that next person that comes in gets some of the workload, and then it's spread out amongst everybody. And whether you have the funds to be able to hire somebody that's full-time, part-time, outsourcing, whatever it is that you're doing, you definitely need to have a chance to be able to pass some of that workload to. And I just see my friend joining. Hi, Heather.
Hi, how are you?
Really great.
Let
I
me put,
don't hear you. I wonder why. Hang on.
let me,
It may
because
be me, my dear. So let me check
it
my
could be
output.
my microphone. No, it could be
And it
this.
looks like you can hear me. So since you can hear me, I'm going to catch you up on just kind of what we were. There we go. Okay. I
Can
think
you
I
hear
should.
me now?
I can. I can.
Hey, hi.
Hi. So I'll fill you in on what we were talking about. And so there's been a lot of chat back and forth and
Mm-hmm.
happening. And so I was telling everybody the Bridging the Gap conference is really, it's a chance for people to think about their well-being inside of their practice. So there's conversations that are happening about how do you get out of that solopreneur spot where you're stuck and everything falls on your shoulders. And have you had a vacation in a while? Do you have somebody that you can pass some of this to? Are you taking care of your health? Are you taking care of your mental well-being? And so that's a big focus of this conference. And I was sharing some of what's happened with Randy, and he was talking about his stroke. And so kind of sharing that here, that he had 2 strokes back to back, changed his life. He had to change directions. And so we're just kind of going back and forth with ideas about where everybody is at this place right now.
Yeah, no, it is so important to take care of yourself. And, I think that especially in our industry where we serve, and we really do, I think one of the kind of the hallmarks of our industry as professionals is we actually assume the stress from our clients. And
Hmm.
so not only are we dealing with the stress in our own lives and all the stuff that we have going on and our family stress, whatever they have going on, but then however many clients we're serving, we're also shouldering that stress as well. And so if we don't take care of ourselves, our bodies will eventually revolt.
Yeah.
So very important, and it is in the mind, which is, Liz, about 5 years ago, about 40, a little over 4 years ago, I did a leadership boot camp for women, and that was where they reminded me that I needed to do stuff for me, and that's when I started getting around horses again, and it has been my zen. So I think it's really important to find what that zen is, and for a long time, the truth that I told myself, Liz, was, "But I love my job, but I love my work. It's not really work, right?"
Yeah.
But it is.
Hmm. It is. And some of the conversations over in chat, we're talking about that, you know, even whenever you get to take a vacation, sometimes it takes a little bit for you to separate your mind from what I've got all these different components. I mean, because I think about each one of our clients has different things that they need. And then there's email and there's communication. And it's like, and I want to grow and my team member's okay. And it's like you suddenly get to this place where your head is just surrounded by all of these thoughts and you need time. Andrea McDonald, she did a great job, and she was talking about she is now able to, because she has a business partner, separate some of these thoughts and actually put them down and start to work on them one by one and address them. And so she's got mental space now for the first time. She's like, for the first time ever, She's been
Mhm.
running a practice, I think she said, for 20 years. And so for the first time ever, she's been able to actually quit using her hands for doing client work, but using her brain to be able to say, how can I solve the business problems? And so
Right.
for her, it was a nice, huge breakthrough.
I love that. I love that. Well, I really enjoyed Bridging the Gap last year, and I remember taking some yoga classes and meditation classes with you. Are they doing that again this year?
Yes, yes. So they're building birdhouses and they're doing some uh, planting and some coloring and then yoga, of course, and some breath work classes. And so, I think that part of the goal with that is to help your mind to calm down. And anytime that you're using your hands, you start to separate mentally from all of the worries. And so
Hmm.
that's really part of what that room helps you to do.
I love that. I love that. So, how
And
about, uh, go ahead, Liz.
oh, no, no. I was going to tell you what I did last night.
Sure.
It's in the same spirit of, um, taking care of yourself. I, I've been on this journey myself with how do I make sure that my mind and my body are doing well. And so one of the things that I had a doctor suggest to me was this book, The Body Keeps the Score.
Hmm.
And to anybody who's interested in mental and physical health at all, I would say check out that book. It's a lot to digest because there's a lot of experiments that happened in it that he kind of tells about throughout his career. But that there's absolutely a connection between the stress that you carry in your brain and the stress on your body. And so, having heart palpitations, strokes, having mental breakdowns, having, heart conditions, having physical ailments, all of those are things that absolutely are connected to our stress level. And so, I have a family full of entrepreneurs, and I can tell you that it's hard on your body watching my family. And so the more that we're cognitive of how we're taking care of ourselves and what we're doing, the better. So in the spirit of that, last night I went to a breathworks class here in Denver.
Oh, that's wonderful. But not at the conference. It was outside of the, oh, very cool.
Well, yeah, yeah. And
Very
so
cool.
I thought, well, I'm just on this adventure to really kind of figure out like what works. But breath work is a big part of how you regulate
It
yourself.
is absolutely. Breath work is designed really to regulate our emotions, and it helps you to get out of your head and focus on your body, which is really important for sure. Speaking of bodies, my Marley girl has got a belly ache, so that's why I was
Oh,
late today as I was waiting for the veterinarian to call me, and they did. And so she's had a little bit of medicine, and I'm gonna have to go back out there and check on her, but I think she'll be okay. It seems like to be a mild episode.
well, good. I'm glad that you're able to get a hold of the vet and that they got a hold of you in return. Got
Yes.
Marley some medicine.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's pretty incredible being here. For those of you that don't know, I bought a farm. I bought a farm
Ah,
at the end of June, and we moved in this not this past weekend, but the weekend before, and it's been really magical. So I wake up and my horse is here with me, and it's lovely. But you can also see that I'm still surrounded with boxes. So I think that'll take a bit of time. So thank you, Jean. Thank you, Jennifer. It's pretty magical. So doing all
oh,
kinds of learning all kinds of things that I never knew that I was capable of doing that now I have to do. So it's wonderful.
it's an exciting time. Oh, I agree, Alicia. Heather is living her best life.
Without a doubt, it's pretty like, exciting. So, uh,
Finding your four-leaf clovers. You've got
mhm.
Marley, and you've got a second horse.
I did. I got a second horse, a Palomino. I call him my Barbie horse because he looks like Barbie's horse. And Marley likes her new companion. So if in case you didn't know, fun fact, The mares, the female horses they run the show. So in a herd of horses, they run the show. They tell everybody what to do. So in the hierarchy, you definitely have, an alpha male, but the alpha male is below pretty much all of the mares. So, so Marley is an alpha mare, and so she's not very nice to Smokey. I mean, they get along fine, except when it comes to food. And then she kind of tells him, "You're allowed to eat after I eat." So, yeah.
Kind of like dogs too. I mean, they've got the alpha dog.
And horses are very, very similar to dogs in their behavior. They're just 1,200-pound dogs, honestly. Big pups. They really are. They're big puppy dogs. Um, so, but just like with any pet, when your horse isn't feeling well, you feel bad for them.
Well,
So,
you make me wonder, Heather. So horses are your outlets. Your farm is how
mhm.
you're doing it and accomplishing it with all of them, all of you together. But I wonder, like over in chat, what are y'all doing in order to be able to have some, a breakaway, a little bit of, for me, it's camping. So I actually need to physically leave my house. I need to go. And so, part of actually going to a conference is a bit of that too. I'm breaking away from my norm. But I'm curious, gardening, is that something that you're doing? Or, what is it that,
Dancing.
yeah,
Nancy
oh yeah.
McClellan is a dance. Actually, there's quite a few of our community that dancing is their thing. So Trisha Tate, who and Jen Todling and Nancy McClellan are all dancers who are also incredible accounting professionals. It looks like
I love
Beth
it.
Ann has a garden and she likes to paint and color. And Jennifer loves her pool and hot tub. Love that.
Hmm. Yeah, the hot tub part. Ooh, uh, I'd love to have a hot tub. I have a jacuzzi tub.
Do you
I
use
mean,
it? Do you use it
I do,
often?
I do. And I really like Epsom salts. And it's funny because Epsom salts, Murph, he and I had a conversation one year about Epsom salts and just how good they are for you to actually soak in. And so I like my baths with my Epsom salts a lot.
Nice.
Hmm.
It's like
So it's fun.
Beth does Zumba. I used to do Zumba. I haven't in a long
Mm.
time, but I used to really enjoy that. And racing your Mustang. What year Mustang? Is it a new Mustang? Is it a classic Mustang? And that's terrifying to me. I am very much more whoa than go. Do not like fast.
Well, I got to see a picture of Beth's Mustang and I got to talk to her while she was out on the racetrack, not in the car racing, but like
Very
setting up in
cool.
preparation for racing. And I was just like, you are a badass.
Totally. That's
She races
awesome.
her own car.
I love that. And Chet spends time with their family. I'm also a big
What
TV
today?
head. I don't know if you guys know that about me, but I really enjoy watching TV and I'm very much into drag. So I am a huge RuPaul's Drag Race fan. I just watched the finale of season 10 of All Stars and that was awesome. And then I'm also a sci-fi geek, so I watch sci-fi. Um, Not all the time, but sometimes.
And you also got to, I'm going to say meet, but you got to take a picture with RuPaul.
I did, and I got to meet Sasha Velour. I took my girls and my son-in-law to Provincetown, and we got to see Sasha Velour. I got to tell you, that show was one of the best shows I've ever seen. Like any type of show, one of the most creative, beautiful, incredible shows I have ever seen in my life. So good.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, that's
really.
fantastic.
Yeah, Sasha is a very, very talented artist and pretty amazing.
So Anne is, yes, projects do count. And I happen to know that you also like, I'm going to say like mowing. You might correct that over in chat, but you don't ever seem to be disappointed that you're going to be going and mowing. So that may just be a mindset because you know that it's something that has to be done anyway, but you do seem to enjoy mowing. Mowing is better than the gym.
And do you have a riding mower or do you have a push mower? Because I just got a riding mower and I broke it the first time I used it. And
What? How did you break it?
I don't know. It's old. I bought a used one. So I had a guy deliver hay today, and he's now my best friend, and he fixed my mower for me so I can try again. So, okay, so push mower. Gotcha. It could be a rock. It could have been a rock. I was trying to figure out. I've never done it before, so as I was riding all over my property, I was definitely hitting things I was pretty sure I shouldn't be hitting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, they don't like it whenever you hit tree stumps either. Uh,
Mm-mm. No,
yeah.
but he fixed it, so that was good.
That's very nice. That
So
is super big deal.
So what are the topics that of the sessions that you're learning about beyond like the wellness? What types of topics are people talking about?
Well, it's interesting because I'm teaching an AI session, but really there's not a whole lot of that happening here. And so I was kind of sharing earlier what the names of some of these classes are. So, Safe to Fail, that was a great one. Another one is that I went to was Breaking Through How to Let Go so you can be the CEO instead of the accountants. That was a great one. One that's happening. Uh, right now is leading through change with purpose and clarity, and then unlocking hidden talents to empower winning teams. So, and then some of these are talking about, so there are a few tech. What are the classes? I wonder how well attended this class is going to be. Let's see what y'all think. Unlocking the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. So I bet you that classroom is actually going to be quite full because
I would imagine it would be. Yeah.
let's see who's even teaching that. So I don't know. Mark Gallios.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know him, but he's a CPA and a MST.
Well, it's definitely
Anyway,
something we need to be paying attention to. I've been reading up on it as well, because yeah, it's going to affect all of us. So we need to be paying attention to that.
I agree really quickly. There's also ADHD in accounting.
Yeah, I
I
was
love
actually
that.
supposed to be on that panel, because as you all know, I am ADHD, and neurodivergent, but I had to not attend because the closing ended up getting scheduled. So moving the
Yeah.
horses and then immediately leaving to go to Denver wasn't an option. So I'm very sad that I'm not able to participate in that.
I think that it will be a great panel, and I'll let you know how it goes, but
I'm
you're
sure
exactly
it
where you're
is.
supposed to be.
Rock stars on it, so it's going to be an amazing panel.
I agree. I agree. And I feel like this is just day one. And so it will keep going through Thursday. Oh, and the theme they have a gala every year. And the theme for the gala last year was space. So Heather and I went to a little outlet mall and bought some things because people go all out for the gala. And this year, the theme is Enchanted Forest.
Oh, how fun. Well, that's exciting.
So I brought fairy wings. So I'm going to be a fairy.
Love it. Love
I
it.
know. I'm very, very excited about being a fairy. I had to take some wings off of my daughter's wall.
I'd love to know, what content do you guys want to see, both for Appy Hour and just in general? What are the things that you haven't quite scratched the itch that you have in your practice? I'd love to know that. If you just throw that in the chat. And Erica, we're talking about Bridging the Gap, which is a conference that's happening in
Oh, yeah.
Denver right now. And Liz was just sharing some of the details. She's actually at that conference right now. And so she was talking about a gala party that they're having on Thursday night at that event. So
Very much looking forward to
AI.
it.
So George is saying AI. Absolutely. We've got some AI plans for this fall that we're very, very excited about. We'll be announcing that soon once it's fully baked. But we're very excited. So stick around and pay attention to Appy Hour because we've got some very exciting AI stuff coming. What
And
else?
I've heard reporting, so analytics is
Mhm.
another area that people
Yeah.
would really like to lean into. And I think that, that speaks to that advisory piece. So how do we get there? Have to use tools to get us there. And there's a wide range of reporting tools. Some of them have got AI built into them, some of them do not. Some of them they're very sophisticated. So there's a steep learning curve with some of them. So it's pretty all over the place. We've tried several, and I think that they all have value. It's just how you are delivering that kind of information to your client, or want to deliver that kind of information to your client, really helps you to navigate which ones to choose.
Yeah, agreed. And we're going to see what I think we're going to see, what we are seeing, and what I predict we will see over the next 3 years is we're seeing, people apps specializing in a particular area with AI to build out best in class for a particular area, like tax research, workflow, client communications, reporting. And I believe what will happen is these tools will either be acquired by GL packages and platforms to be assimilated into basically an all-in-one system like QuickBooks Zero, Zoho, that type of thing. So I think we're going to see the same thing that we saw with the app ecosystem back starting in like 2010 through, today with the cloud accounting, where you started building this ecosystem, and now you're starting to see that functionality being, combined into the all-in-one systems. And and I think what we're going to see is or we're going to find out is what is the appetite for that, because I think that in some cases that's great, and the functionality that's being added is really good and adds a lot of value to the product. But in other
Mhm.
cases, I've seen where that's happened and it wasn't, where once it was, kind of incorporated into the product, it lost that the product kind of lost its, what set it apart, right?
It's a hard balance. I mean, I think that Intuit's got the resources that most apps do not. And I think that one of the things that they struggle with is because they want to be that all-in-one business solution too. I mean, that's really
Hmm.
part of their model, is to bring all of those types of apps, and that's why their deep partnership with some of those apps have kind of ceased. So that way they can build inside payments, and have various different time tracking, and so there's a lot of move happening in that area. Um, but I think that one of the things that you see with some of those large apps like that is uh, it's too cumbersome after a while. So I think that what I'm seeing with some of these AIGLs is they're a lot sleeker. So there's a lot less need to have hands on. So there's a lot less need to have a whole lot of bulky features, which gets you from A to Z a whole lot faster. So that'll be
Yeah.
an interesting thing to see play out.
Definitely.
Stacy's saying that she like
It's definitely going to be a
work.
ride. It's exciting. It's exciting. And
Mhm.
we definitely, well, like I said, we got to pay attention. I think we're going to see a lot of, I mean, we're already seeing super fast development. And the reason we're seeing super fast development is because of the AI capabilities are allowing these developers to iterate their development so much faster.
Mhm.
You can see that in just by your own use of Chat GPT. I was working on the metrics for Scaling New Heights, and I was able to tell Chat GPT exactly what I wanted to do with this big data pool in Excel, and it was able to write basic script that I could just copy and paste into it to actually get the numbers that I needed. Now, that
Wow.
being said, you know, I'm savvy enough to know if it was right or wrong, right? So you can't
Mhm.
just, you still like, and that's where people say, well, it's going to replace us. It's like, it's not going to replace us, because somebody else who doesn't know what they're looking at could plug that in and they wouldn't know if the results were correct or not. And we have the expertise as professionals to know with the end result, is that actually correct?
I think that the desired output is going to have better guardrails in particular areas, so the expected results will get better and better
Yes.
as we teach it. But you're absolutely right. Where we're at right now is that we definitely have to do a lot of fact checking.
A lot of fact checking, and you're absolutely right. There will be a point where we no longer have to do that. And that's I believe that's a lot sooner than
Mhm.
what most people anticipate. I think that's we're almost there, honestly.
I agree. I think that within 2 years, I think our technology offerings are going to look significantly different.
Mhm.
And for our Appy audience, I mean, I feel like that's something that we should definitely lean into. Like, what does that change look like, and how do we navigate it and
For
bring
sure.
more of those AI solutions to the community so that way you can see what's happening. So Chet is saying that struggling to adopt into its all-in-one solutions for accountants, rather be able to pick and choose best in class. I mean, there's some value to being able to um, select the tools that you like the best. And I think that that's where a lot of development is happening right now, is who can develop that super solution first. Because I
Agreed.
think that Intuit recognizes, in fact, there was some acknowledgement of that here today, actually, that they have released some of the products prematurely, intentionally, with desire to be able to get feedback, knowing that they were going to disappoint and frustrate some users, but they felt like it was worth the risk to launch first and then get feedback and reiterate version 2, version 3, version 4 later. But it does create a frustrating experience in that meantime.
And you'd have to be a very successful, strong company in order to be able to take that risk.
Hmm.
And a less mature company wouldn't be able to withstand that. So, that's understandable. Uh, but yeah, they do, and that's something they've been doing for a long time. Is the minimum viable product.
Hmm.
The other MVP, right, is the minimum viable product, which is what can you get out the door so that you can get the feedback from the customer so that you can iterate and make it better. So, and it also helps you to determine whether or not whether people even want it, right? So there's been lots of features that Intuit has released during my career where it came out, we're like, why did you make that? Like, that's not something that we really need or need to focus on. So yeah.
George just put into chat a couple of really good points. So his concern with AI is, one, who owns the AI? So the data that's being put into um, whatever solution it is, that's the second part of the question, is who owns that data? I would say each of the solutions you need to ask that question to, because some of them are
100%.
creating their own models. They have their own closed systems. Others are taking advantage of solutions that are already out there. But I'm going to say the majority in the accounting space are designing their own. Not all, but the majority of them are.
Yeah, I mean the algorithms, the machine learning part, that's proprietary. They own that. But the interesting thing about, I took an AI course at Brown with Joe, and I remember one of the first slides they showed was, with regular development, normal development, you have data, right? You have data, um, plus the algorithm equals the output. So input algorithm, which is the proprietary coding that the developer is creating, and then the output you know, is the product, right? With machine learning, the output is an algorithm. So you have data coming in, right? It's going through the machine learning and it's creating a new algorithm that can now learn, and that is that's how it continues to learn. So yes, it's giving you outputs, but as it's doing it, the way that it's, learning is it's creating those algorithms autonomously based on the data and the feedback that we're giving to it. So that's a really interesting question, George, is that if what we're asking is creating
Mhm.
these algorithms, that are making it better, technically they own it, and I'm sure that's in the licensing agreement, but it's up to us to read it and to really understand it. And we do have to be very, very careful about understanding, is the data protected? What should we be sharing? What shouldn't we be sharing? And I've seen lots of really great apps that were fantastic, cloud-based apps that were really fantastic, did a great job, and then something else came along that could do a little bit more and people wanted to move, and there was
Yeah.
no way to get their data out to
Yeah.
migrate. So that's something that, and I think the big one that I've heard from several applications is the communication piece. When you're using some of these practice management applications and you have these conversations with your clients, when you leave that app, are you able to get that data out? Because we need that data. We need to have that data. We need to have that audit trail of all of that communication between our client. And if when you are adopting practice management software, that should be one of the questions that you're asking is, okay, if I decide to leave, what happens to all the communication?
That's a great question. Um, we're in the process of changing our practice management solution at the moment. And that is something that is a consideration. It's like all of our templates, all of our prior conversations, all of those things, I like practice management solutions, and you're right, they're not all equal whenever you're leaving them. Some of
Hmm.
them will allow you to export into Excel, which is the easiest thing to then collect it. And, sometimes they're workbooks, and that makes it very easy to have at least that information for audit purposes. But like you
Yeah,
said, there's some out there who don't even let you get that far.
that's right. And I mean, typically you can get into Excel like if you have like processes, you can export that,
Hmm.
the communication. And if it's linked to
Communication.
your email, great, because you probably have that on your email server, right? So if
Hmm.
it's all just basically taking, basically sitting on top of your email, you're still going to have that email. It's just going to be in whatever email, client you're using, Outlook, Google, whatever. But if you're using internal chat, that's a really important question you need to ask because that's not on your email server. Where is it?
I agree. And George, looking at your question again, one of the things that stands out in that second part that you were asking, that I missed was, what are they doing with that data? And I think that what Heather was just saying, they're using machine learning, and they're taking that pool of data, and they're saying, what can we learn from these users and the various different ways that code transactions, that do quality controls, ask for reporting, it does whatever the app is. So they are definitely using that data. How they're used, I've seen a couple of different apps in that reporting space. Sometimes they will silo just your firm, so you can build a database of just your firm to be able to tap into. Some are saying, as a product, all of the firms that they sell, and all of the firms that they work with, and all of the client data is universally used. So there is a bit of a variance in the solution and what the abilities are there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like ChatGPT. If you're doing the free version, you're training their model. If you have, and I think that even some of the paid versions, you're training their model.
I agree.
And if you're in the pro version or the Teams version, you can turn that off. So, but you have
Mhm.
to do that. It is the default is you're going to train their model. So if you don't want your prompts and your data to be training their model, you need to make sure that in your settings that you've indicated that you don't want to participate in that.
And specifically, is there an app that you're talking about right now?
ChatGPT.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, I didn't
Uh,
say.
that's okay. I thought that's where you're going. I was just want to make sure. Stacy, you've got one comment here, and I think we probably just have time for this last one. But Intuit had the best in class tools, and I would say that many of the people here would agree with that. But one of the things that you had said is that a lot of those features from QuickBooks Desktop that people loved are not in QuickBooks Online. And I would say that one of the things that we've ran into is inventory.
Yeah.
Inventory in QuickBooks Online is a challenge.
It's still a challenge, and it's still a big challenge. And in desktop, the inventory was good, but even in desktop, it wasn't great. You
Yeah,
had to know what you were doing. You could make it work if you really understood what you were doing and you had that deep level of knowledge. But I would have to say that your typical business owner, even with desktop, would struggle with inventory.
and that's one of those places I think that Intuit has been trying to solve for a while.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, they had purchased, I think it was Trade Gecko at one point. They tried to build their own. And I think that whenever they launched the e-commerce suite, I think that they had wanted to have inventory along with that. And it didn't happen. So I think that, they have a desire for, in that particular area for you to do a third party app.
Agreed, and they've acquired a couple of inventory solutions. I believe they bought Lettuce way
Okay.
back in the early 20 teens. They bought Lettuce, and that I think that's the inventory that we see now. And then
Okay.
you're right, the Trade Gecko, they were hoping that that was gonna, really become that e-commerce solution. So be interesting to see where they go. I mean, they'll get it. They'll get it. There's no doubt about it. They'll figure it out. It's just, how fast will they be able to figure it out, and how will they be able to compete? And what will their strategy be when the best in class does emerge? Xero is buying up a bunch of, they bought Sift, they just bought Melio. So Melio, they purchased Melio for 2.5 billion the last week of June. So their strategy is to acquire the best in class. So we're gonna kind of see them going neck to neck, which is gonna be really interesting and fun.
It is. It's very exciting to watch, and I'm, grateful to be able to have a seat during this very, um, actively changing times.
Yeah.
So, Heather, we
Yes.
are at the end of the hour. So, next episode, we are going to be doing a deep dive with our friend Chris from My Task LMS, who happens to be
We
here.
are. We are. And then we have some firm spotlights coming up, which are going to be exciting. And we have a big AI initiative with Appy Hour that's going to be launched in the next probably the next 45 to 60 days. So definitely be watching for that. Chet asking if Zero is a good replacement for QBO yet. We're actually converting Appy Hours books over to Zero in the next few weeks. So I will let you know. But from what I've seen, I think the answer is yes. I think that they are chock full of very similar features. They've added the bank reconciliation, which for U.S. market was very important. So now we have that. And with the acquisition of Sift, the acquisition of Melio, I think it's just going to be getting better and better. So I do believe Zero is going to give QBO a run for their money for sure.
Fun times. Well, I'm glad that you were able to join us, Heather. I'm glad that Marley is
Yeah,
doing better.
yeah. I'm gonna
And
go check on her now, and hopefully she's on the mend.
well, thanks everybody for joining. It's always fun to share this time with you.
And
Take
Liz,
care, everyone. Oh,
the date of that next episode, I believe, is August 12th, correct?
I just closed it, but I had it open, but I think that's correct.
Okay, awesome. We'll see you guys then. Take care. Liz, safe travels and enjoy the conference.
Thank you very much. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.